Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be my August wrap up. It's the last day of the month. I'm ready for fall. It's so hot, it's like 90 degrees still here, and I'm ready for some cooler weather. So I have a ton of summery reads that I finished this month that I really actually enjoyed. So we're gonna get into it and I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, I also wanted to say I think I'm gonna make the transition to Storygraph. So I'm gonna leave a link for my Storygraph down below. I think I enjoy the formatting a little bit more because you can do half and quarter star ratings, I believe, on Storygraph. So I'll leave it down below. Follow me if you guys want. That will be my most active platform to keep you guys updated on what I'm reading. Okay, so the first two books I read this month were the first two books in the Twisted series by Anna Huang. So it's Twisted Love and Twisted Games. I loved these books. So the first one is about Ava and Alex, and this is like a brother's best friend situation. The brother is moving out and he lives next door to his sister, so Alex moves in next door to kind of keep an eye on Ava, but Ava's always kind of had a thing for Alex. It's really good. I really like it. And then the second book was Twisted Games, which is with Bridget and Reese. And Bridget is a princess, it's a bodyguard princess situation. I really enjoy it. So her current bodyguard is stepping down because his wife is going on maternity leave, so she gets assigned a new bodyguard, Reese, who is young and hot and very overbearing and overprotective, and it's so good. It's so good. It's so juicy. I love it. I really like royalty stories, so I was a fan. And I gave both of those 4 to 5 stars because they were just such a good, fun time. And I really like Anna Huang's style of writing too. I read 3 Colleen Hoover books this month because I have issues and Colleen Hoover has me in a chokehold. So the first I read was Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. This I gave 4.5 out of 5 stars. This story, we are following Tate and Miles, and so this is another like brother's best friend situation. Tate is in school to be a nurse, and Miles is Tate's brother's best friend, and he's also an airline pilot alongside of Tate's brother. And they meet, kind of have like an off start to their relationship and their meeting, and you start the book knowing that there's something else going on with Miles. He obviously has some inner demons that he's trying to deal with and some like past trauma. Right after that I read Heartbones by Colleen Hoover, and this is like easily one of my favorite Colleen Hoover books. I gave this one 4.5 out of 5 stars again. So the book starts off with Bea coming home from her shift and her mom is dead, and her relationship with her dad is kind of tense. And so she reaches out to her dad and is like, hey, I just want to come stay with you for a while, and she moves in with him. And the main love interest in this is Samson. I love Samson so much. Like, he's easily one of like my top favorite Colleen Hoover men. So good. And Samson is like the boy next door. So while she's living at this beach house in Texas with her dad and his like new family, she's trying to get used to it, trying to deal with the grief of losing her mom, and then she meets Samson. And Samson is like kind of quiet, a little mysterious, is like friends though with her new stepsister. And then later on in the month I read Verity by Colleen Hoover. Heartbones and Verity have like the same texture to them. I really enjoy the feel. That's kind of a weird, you know, side note, but Verity is probably Colleen Hoover's most like out there book. It's just the one that I feel like stands out from the rest. So Verity is about the story of Verity Crawford. She is a like pretty renowned author, and she gets in an accident of sorts and cannot continue to write her series. So her husband, Jeremy Crawford, recruits Lowen, and Lowen is a like kind of indie author, not indie, but she's not as like out there and well known as Verity. And Jeremy asks Lowen to ghostwrite for Verity for the rest of her series. And so Lowen travels to Verity and Jeremy's home and just starts finding out all of these bits and pieces that are like about their life and their marriage and their children and what has all led up to Verity getting in this accident and being like bedridden. It's really good. I really enjoyed it. This is like a romantic thriller, if we can even call it that. I was shocked by this. I really was. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I gave this 4 to 5 stars. And I also have that feeling with pretty much all of the Colleen Hoover books. I love her books. I love her writing. She has a very addictive style of writing. But I just don't know if any of her books are ones that I'm ever gonna need to read again. Like once I read it, I feel like I've gotten what I need out of it. Okay, then I read The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. This book gave me butterflies. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. This is the story of Olive and Ethan. Olive is the maid of honor in her sister's wedding, and Ethan is the best man to his brother in the same wedding. So they are like the brother and sister to the bride and groom, and they are the only two that don't eat from the wedding buffet, and thus the only two who don't get food poisoning from the wedding buffet. So they are both tasked with going on this like all expenses paid, contest won honeymoon. And they have to like fake date, be married. I really like this. I feel like a lot of people don't talk about this, but the main character is a plus size Latino woman, so I really enjoyed the representation. I thought that that was great. I feel like I didn't even know that about this book going into it. I really enjoyed it. It has a lot to do with like family and sibling dynamic too, which I really enjoy. I have very like a soft spot for that type of storyline, like when it's like an underlying storyline. I also read Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. And if you didn't know, Christina Lauren are sisters or best friends that like co-write. I love this book so much. I literally can't like put it into words. I think this is my all-time favorite romance. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, but this 5 out of 5 stars definitely topped this 5 out of 5 stars. It's so good. So this is the story of Macy and Elliot, and they are childhood best friends. So Macy loses her mom at a pretty young age, and her dad is left to take care of Macy. And Macy's mom didn't want her growing up without the influence of her, so she left like letters and notes so that Macy's dad would have like help in raising Macy. That's no spoiler, but it's such a great part of the story. And they end up acquiring this like cabin house in Northern California through Macy's mom's instructions. And Elliot, the Petropoulos family, live next door. So it's Elliot and like his 4 brothers and their parents. And so they live next door and they read together, and it's just so great. Elliot is the blueprint, okay? He is the base model. I will reread this again. Like if I'm sad, I even might reread this fall, like I just read it. Another book that is literally incredible, the blueprint, so amazing, was All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. So this is the second or third Mariana Zapata book I read. I know I've read The Wall in Winnipeg of Me, and I did start from Luke Off with Love, but I didn't really jive with the storyline. This book, however, though, is like every trope that I yearn for. It's grumpy sunshine, it's age gap, it is amazing. So the story is between Rhodes and Aurora has kind of been through a lot within the past like year, and so she ends up back in her hometown where she grew up. It's a small town in Colorado, and she rents out this apartment, like an above garage apartment, from like online. And so she shows up, she has nowhere to stay besides this above garage apartment, and it ends up being like on Rhodes's property. And Rhodes's son was the one that listed it because he wanted some cash money. It's really funny, like the start to the story, and then it just like takes off from there. So you're getting her dynamic with Rhodes and his son Amos, and then their kind of like blended family situation. And then you're also getting background pieces of Aurora's story, what happened within the past year, where her family is at, and it's really, really amazing. It's my favorite Mariana Zapata book. If you don't know, she is the queen of slow burn romances. You will not get anything steamy until like the last 150 pages. I'm just warning you. But I loved this so much more than The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. I'm not that much into football romances, and while I did like the storyline between Aiden and his assistant, whose name I forgot, I didn't really like the forced proximity and like how they came together in that way. I felt like Rhodes and Aurora's story was like so much more believable and authentic and like so great. She works at an outdoor outfitter, and so it's like very much ingrained in nature and like camping, and like the Colorado like background setting is just so capturing. I feel like this would be a great fall read for you if you're trying to get into like that cozier frame of mind. Then I started the Shatter Me series. So the Shatter Me series is by Tara Mafi. I read the first book, Shatter Me, and then the novella in between the first and second book, which is Destroy Me. So Destroy Me is a novella from Warner's perspective. I am really not the best about reading novellas most of the time, but I would highly recommend reading Shatter Me and then the novella before going into Unravel Me, because I feel like your opinions going into Unravel Me will be very different without having that in-between knowledge. So this is a dystopian set YA fantasy, and we are following Juliet, who is being held in this like prison institution because she is a danger to society. She has powers that are lethal, and she is being kept away for years. So we get set with her story in this prison, and then we get introduced to Adam, and then we get introduced to Warner, and it like all just takes this big turn. There's some like higher government set group that's like trying to do the best for the people by like taking away every right and putting them in really shitty conditions. It's amazing. I really liked it. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was a fun, great time, and I'm glad I read Destroy Me. I gave Shatter Me 4 out of 5 stars. I gave Destroy Me 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's very short. It's like 120 pages. I didn't even get the copy because you can find it on Scribd, and it's so short. And it's just Warner's perspective, so you get more insight on his dynamic with his father and like his like impression of Juliet, because if you know how Shatter Me ends, you're like, whoa babe, I need to know what's going on. So I'm definitely gonna be reading Unravel Me in the month of September. So then I read The Darkest Temptation, which is the third book in the Maid Mafia by Danielle Laurie. I read The Sweetest Temptation and The Sweetest Oblivion and The Maddest Temptation. What? The Sweetest Oblivion and The Maddest Obsession. Sorry, I was literally geeking out. I read those in July, and so I just had The Darkest Temptation left. This is Christian from the second book. It's his brother Ronan's story, so Ronan Alastair, and this is like the only book set in Russia. So Mila has kind of a odd relationship with her father. It's definitely like set in the mafia, so she is like getting ready to be put in an arranged marriage, and she hasn't seen her father in quite a few months, and he has like kind of forbade her from going to Russia. So she says screw it all, and she gets on a plane and goes to Russia anyways, and there she meets the devil. She is definitely like struggling and just trying to get like that sense of freedom because she's been suffocated by so many of like her father's rules and standards set for her. So it's really good. I really liked it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. My ratings for Smelt with Context are much easier to get a 5 out of 5 than any other book, you know. Then after I finished that, I wanted more Mafia. So I read Sweet Temptation by Cora Riley. I gave this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was good. So this is a like mafia arranged marriage situation, but the like difference here is Cassio is, his wife is dead and he is left with like 2 very young children. So he's looking for someone to like fill a maternal role and then also be his wife. So that is where the arranged marriage gets set up with Julia, who is barely legal, and she kind of takes over this mother role for the children. I enjoyed it. It was good. It definitely wasn't my favorite. I feel like the Unbound series was better, and even then I would prefer Danielle Lawry's Mafia series over Cora Riley's series. That's just personal. I liked the Maid series better than the Born in Blood Mafia series. Take that into account. I wasn't the biggest fan, and I had Sweet Temptation in my Kindle Unlimited like hold list, so I just wanted to get it read. And then I needed comfort, so I reread The Deal by Elle Kennedy because I love pain. I gave this book 4 to 5 stars. It's definitely my favorite, purely because if there were a mix between like Grace and Hannah's personalities, I feel like that is who I would mesh with the best. I don't have much else to say because it's a reread. But I know that they are releasing the like epilogue novella in September, I think, actually, The Legacy. So I'll probably read it. I don't care about Dean and Allie. I know a lot of people do. They're my least favorite couple in the series. It's definitely Garrett and Hannah, Sabrina and Tucker, then Logan and Grace, then Dean and Allie. After that, The People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I gave this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed this way more than Beach Read. I love Gus and January, don't get me wrong. Gus is mentioned in this book. I loved that plug. But yeah, this is the story of Poppy and Alex, who met in high school and were really great friends. They were from like the same small town, and so they started taking vacations together every summer for like 12 years. And 2 years ago from like the present day, they went on a trip in Croatia and something happened. And they haven't talked in like 2 years since, and they like reconnect and say, hey, do you want to go on another vacation, like one last vacation together? So that is where the book picks up, is them going on this vacation to Palm Springs. I have come to realize with this gem, I think I just don't jive that great with Emily Henry's style of writing. I can never fully like just kind of lose myself in the story and really find myself enjoying it. So I think there's just some disconnect, and I think it's the writing style. And finally, the way that I ended off my summer, I read this on the last Saturday of August, which if you read the book, you know that that is when all of these parties have taken place back in the 80s. But I read Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I think this is my new favorite. I know I keep saying that every time I read a new one of her books. It's incredible. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. If I could give it 5.5 out of 5 stars, I would. I love this story so much. I love the setting, I love the characters, I love the sibling dynamics. Quick synopsis rundown. If you've read her other 2 books in this like decade series that she's doing, the name Mick Riva will be familiar to you. So we are following the story of Mick Riva's 4 children that he's had with this woman named June, Nina, Jay, Hud, and Kit. And these 4 siblings live in Malibu. It's like very surfer-esque. And every year at Nina's house, there's this huge party that gets thrown. This year, something goes wrong at the party. This party is going to happen, and by the end of it, there's gonna be flames. And so you are kind of like, whoa, what is going on here? So you get the relationship and the bond of these 4 siblings and what it was like being raised by their mom and having Mick Riva as their father, and then you get the current chapters of them in their like early to mid 20s. Again, I have such a soft spot for sibling dynamics. I really enjoy it when you get a lot of like grit and information and just like warmth of this family and their whole childhood and like life. I love it. I read it on the last Saturday of the month of August. I felt like I was at the party. So atmospheric, so like character driven. She has such a knack for characterization and making you so interested by these characters. Okay, sorry, the camera cut out because my battery died. But that was the last book I read in the month of August. I had such a great reading month. I really enjoyed a lot of the books that I read, and I had a great time. I hope maybe you guys got some recommendations on what you want to pick up in the next couple of months from this video. Let me know if you had any same, differing, or argumentative opinions about what I thought of the books. Yeah, I would love to have a chat with you guys in the comments down below. The floor is yours. And that's gonna be it for me today, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're all having such a great day. Again, I'll have my story graph linked down below if you guys want to follow me. And as always, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.